I grew up in Germany, so in fascist Germany. In 1933, Hitler came into power, and I was 6 years old at that time. And early on, I became part of the German Catholic youth movement. So, and that influenced, of course, that's where my religious orientation came from. And this youth movement was first permitted. There was a contract, empire concorded between the Pope and Hitler. And so the Catholic youth movement was free, but the contract was broken, and then we were persecuted and my leaders were beaten up, and so that was a very dramatic experience. One theme of our critical theory of religion, the antagonism between the religious and the secular, was present there from the very beginning. On one side there were the religious people, and on the other side there was the fascist state, the secular state, and they were in a continual conflict with each other. And so the critical theory grew out of this fundamental experience. I saw an old little lady marching ahead of me, maybe 70 years old, and she had two suitcases carrying, and then she stopped again, and I thought, well, as a good Catholic boy, I had to help her. So I went there, and when I came close to her, I saw she had this yellow star here, huge yellow star, which the Jewish people had to carry, and she spoke, the Frankfurt dialect like any German. So, but she didn't dare to say something because Aryans and Semites were not allowed to talk to each other. But then I started babbling, and so then she trusted too, and she said the police had been there at night and told her to carry everything she could and go into the basement of the air shelter, in the air shelter of the Lessing Gymnasium, and she was on her way. So I put her suitcases on my bike, and we rolled down to that air shelter where already hundreds of Jews had been collected to be transported then to the east. And the police had told her she would be brought to the east. It would be in a nice village, and the whole bustle of the city, she would be free from that, and she would have a nice end of her living and so on. So we knew, the Jewish woman and we knew that there were concentration camps like Dachau and so on. We did not know that there were death camps. But the issue is for me always when you have to make decisions, ethical decisions, help this woman do this or whatever. You know so little of the circumstances in which you make this decision, and that is scary in a certain sense, that one knows so little when one has to make such big decisions. I did not want to go, but an officer came next day and said, you have no choice, you have to go. So I went to the airport, Sossenheim. There I was trained in the flak artillery and so on, and so I spent then 2 years in the Air Force, and then I became a member of the officers' school near Frankfurt. Patton drove in with 80 tanks, and the people were the German soldiers were so demoralized that they didn't obey anymore. They just walked up the hill and didn't care anymore, and so they were all killed, all 250. And I visited them for 50 years at the Alzenau, at the cemetery there, every year when I came to Germany. So, but after that, then I had to surrender. I had no troops anymore, so I surrendered in the forest near Alzenau. Then I was brought to Worms, and there was a prison of war camp provisionally, and about 25,000 prisoners, and we didn't get anything to eat for a whole week. That was quite an experience. So from Worms I was brought through Alsace-Lorraine, which had now become French again, and so there I was stoned. The French stoned us, and I became unconscious in an animal car, and a Protestant minister gave me his last water, and that made me an ecumenical person for the rest of my life, and woke me up again. We marched to a ship instead in the harbor, and I was brought to Africa, to Oran, and I thought we should build roads or whatever, but from Oran we were brought through Gibraltar to Norfolk, Camp Allen, where I was in Camp Allen then. So I was supposed to democratize Germany, so that was the best thing for me to do. So I helped to build a Christian Democratic Party in Germany. I taught in the German school system. I taught for working class people in the trade schools and in the gymnasium. I taught in the university. I had a problem when I came home from the war, and the problem is called the theodicy problem. Why such horrible things happen, in the world which a just God has created and so on. And I had problems with my teachers. I asked them and so on. But when I came to Buchenwald and looked at it, it was right besides Weimar, the high culture city of Germany. The highest point of culture was Weimar, and there was Buchenwald, the camp right beside it. So it was a horrible type of a contrast. He predicted that the fascism of the 30s and 40s would come back again. And I had worked in Germany as much as possible, so then I decided with my wife and my family that we would come here because we wanted to fight it here. And because if fascism could have done so much damage in a much smaller country like Germany, what would happen if it would happen here? So one must not underestimate fascism. It's an unbelievably powerful thing.